Yes, welcome back to the program. And this segment is also going live on our live streaming platform, salammedia.com, as well as on Facebook, the Facebook page, and our YouTube channel. And not forgetting broadcasting out of Al Ansar in Durban and Pietermaritzburg and One Nation FM in Polokwane. Now, Agri South Africa has called on the private sector to come to the rescue of the agricultural industry, rather, as the land bank's financial troubles deepened. I'm joined now online by Mr. Christo van Rheede, a senior member at Agri SA, to discuss what's going on there. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good morning to your listeners and all of your viewers.
All right, so let us first understand for us non-agricultural people, uh, how does the land bank and what role does it play in assisting farmers in South Africa?
The Land Bank is a state entity and it has been in existence for many, many years. Pre 1994, it helped to assist particularly white commercial farmers to establish themselves in the field of agriculture. Now, as you know, South Africa is a very difficult place for agriculture. One, we have one of the lowest rainfalls in the world. And secondly, our accessibility to fertile land is very limited. If you go further up north, the case is completely different, especially in the central part of Africa. So the Land Bank has played a particular role in terms of subsidizing farmers, assisting farmers, giving them access to cheap finance. Now, after 1994, with the pressing urgency of bringing about land reform and establishing a new cohort of black commercial farmers, one would have expected the Land Bank to assume a new role. Sadly, though, the Land Bank, started to operate as a commercial bank. Now, in farming, there is no way that you can expect of a emerging farmer or a developing farmer to pay commercial rates on any production loan that they acquire from the Land Bank. So they've tried to integrate, commercial financing for agriculture as well as developing financing for agriculture. Unfortunately, it did not work out, as well as expected. We have also seen a number of other factors that, impacted very, very negatively on the liquidity of the Land Bank for the past few years, and we can discuss that later on. But that's the background to the Land Bank.
Now, you said the land bank is there to assist farmers with financing of their work at low rates that are repayable and make farming profitable then for the farmer. Where does the funds, that are needed for the land bank then come from? Is it government injected, or where does that revenue develop?
In the past, Land Bank got a big part of their funding from government. But over the years, due to the fact that it started to operate as a commercial entity, it got a lot of funding from the PIC, the Government Pension Fund, that was invested into the Land Bank. It also got funding from our own commercial banks in South Africa. Now, you must just imagine if you get funding from a commercial bank and you again, give that funding to a farmer, then that funding actually builds up a lot of expenses, and it becomes more expensive because you have to now pay back two or three institutions that all expect something in return for managing that production loan facility. And then thirdly, it also gets funding from international funders. And because of its liquidity problem and because it could not honor paying back those loans, they were downgraded to junk status in earlier this year. And they are now, in a very, very difficult space in that they struggle to pay back those loans. In fact, they have dishonored some of the loans.
All right, so that ultimately means that the farmer down the line of lending doesn't get the type of cash that's needed to start his production cycle, if I understand it correctly. So, in terms of the actual produce, what types of losses are we looking at as a nation, as a country, if the farmers aren't able to produce that kind of food?
Look, the total loan book for farmers currently sits at approximately 200 billion rand. Now, what people must realize is you can give people a piece of land, but if you
Mm,
don't give them a production loan every year for the new production cycle, then they won't be able to buy the inputs and they won't be able to harvest that produce. So it's all about ensuring that they have money to produce food. In fact, in South Africa, we produce food, on the basis of debt. In other words, farmers are deeply indebted. So land bank, the portion of that 200 billion for land bank sits currently at approximately 45 billion rand. All that it means, if land bank disappears, the big question is, where will those farmers, find, or where will they be able to go to apply for a new production loan? And secondly, many of them got very favorable rates with land bank. So at
mm.
the end of the day, it will become very expensive for them if they go to any other institution because they have to build up a credit record at a new institution.
Hmm. And I'm looking at the levels of water in South Africa right now. The Vaal Dam, as it stands, is already under the 49% mark or so. It's much less than where we were last year at the same time in the year. And rainfall patterns seem to be changing also. Uh, are we worried about food security issues in South Africa at present and into the near future of 1 or 2 years ahead of us?
Indeed, rain and water is the lifeblood of agriculture. And we've seen in 2016, 2017 with this massive drought, how our maize output has dropped from 15 million tons annually to approximately 7 million tons. Now, due to the good rains we had up north last year, and I expect good rains here in the Western Cape, we had very, very good citrus season up to now. Over the December months, we had a very good deciduous fruit season, a very good fruit and vegetable season. We also have had a very good table grape season, as well as a very good macadamia nut season. But these are all export driven sectors. So the country itself earns a lot of foreign exchange in the process, and a lot of jobs are also created, whether it's seasonal jobs, permanent jobs. We have seen growth in terms of the job numbers in the agriculture sector. We expect now a very, very good bumper crop for the maize season as well as the soya season. So yes, South Africa is still in a very, very good position, but we always remain concerned about the availability of water. Also, we are entirely dependent on rain, and there's a tremendous responsibility on government to ensure that our water resources are protected, but more so that it's well managed. Because without water, the entire industry will come to a standstill.
And so now there's this appeal going out to the private sector to assist farmers and help. How do you envisage that becoming a reality, or what is the plan that you have in place and the appeal that you are making to the private sector?
One, because Land Bank is a state entity, our appeal is firstly to government to assist the Land Bank with a cash injection. But remember, it's not only Land Bank that waits for state assistance. There's the South African Airways. We've seen there's a big noise about a possible 21 billion rand bailout. Then there's the massive, massive injections for small businesses and for big companies. The big question is, where will the money come from? And if the state is not in a position to bail out Land Bank, then our appeal is obviously the private sector, that they will have to consider taking over the loan book of Land Bank, so that farmers that are currently clients of Land Bank, that they can become clients of other financial institutions. So we are very concerned about the fact that we might lose a lot of farmers if they do not have access to capital, but more so, it's still expected of them to pay back their loans. Remember, they need new capital to produce, agricultural products in order for them to pay back their loans from previous years.
Mr. Christo van der Rheede, thank you so much for joining us this morning and for that informative discussion on the woes of the land bank and the troubles that farmers are now going to be facing because of that. I think it extends to all of us eventually as the consumers of the produce, and we hope that South Africa can once again become a country that produces and provides for many other nations, not just ourselves, in the way that we know our potential is. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Pleasure, sir.